Hey there guys, it's Metro, and this is a follow-up video to the previous one, alright? I gave all those tips, and the tips look great on paper, but I wanted to give some examples too. I wasn't able to do this at the time, but now I have some good footage of the last set of challenge modes I'll ever do, I'd imagine. Man, I'm gonna miss challenge modes. They're honestly my favorite thing about WoD. If, say whatever you want about WoD, but the challenge modes were really good. I feel like they, you know, it's like a sad song or something like that to commemorate the ending, like that Green Day song or whatever. Like, it's something unpredictable, but in the end, it's right. I hope you have the time of your life. Something like that. But I don't even know. But anyway, let's look at some examples, and I'll show you guys exactly. Those tips that I was talking about. Show them in action. So in this first clip, we're going to see a few things in action. First things first is, the point that I made about skipping mobs, knowing how to exploit and make skips is very important. So what we're going to do here is execute a controlled wipe. This is actually twofold of importance. We're going to die to skip these mobs and then res on the other side, but we're also going to be resetting Lust, which we need for the final boss. We're doing this by having certain people run across, and then either myself as a Death Knight could battle res the healer. The battle res doesn't expire. He's able to take it right there. So I battle res the monk, and the monk can take it after combat is dropped. But of course, these Wind Fury totems are keeping us in it. But the healer actually used an Invis pot just to be safe. So he went across, he skipped him like that. Now he's going to res us on the other side. So that's also part of using your class's utility. You know what I mean? Like it's a small part. The next part I'm going to show is a much bigger part, but we had a shaman who could onk. I have a battle res and a priest. He decided that he could just run across with invis pot. So that's knowing your class's limitations and knowing it well. Now watch what he does here. This is a really interesting thing that you can do in uppers as a priest. We already have the mob count we need, and these mobs have quite the amount of health. In fact, at one point they used to give 2 mob count for some reason, but now they only give they 2 each. They used to give 4, now they only give 2. So he is going to mind control them and run them off the bridge. So that's a really clear-cut example of knowing your classes, the way you play it, and you have to know how to do this. You'd have to be prepared for this. If you weren't set up to do this, you wouldn't be able to do it. So there's a great divide there. Now here, this is more to show you guys good damage. We actually pull the boss over to the right side here. We do that because she's going to run all the way to the left side and jump off. So you want to take her as far away from that side as possible so you can get another 2 or 3 seconds in terms of damage. And also we push her so fast that the Iron Cyclone happens. Normally she would go at around 50%, but because the Iron Cyclone has happened around that time, she goes a little bit later. So that's another important part of dungeons. You need to be able to time yourself well. We use pre-pot on the pull. But also I'm showing you guys this because, the one dude said that we watched the entire video, 20-minute video, and then I cut out the ending. So this is the ending. The dungeon is a very interesting one. Hardest challenge mode, I would say, for sure. But I'm not really talking about that right now today. I'm just talking about kind of using your class knowledge, your spec knowledge, your knowledge of dungeons, all the things I talked about in the video. It's very important. It is very important. A lot of people take it for granted, and it's not going to be any different in Legion. And it's really not going to be. It's going to be a little bit different pacing. The way the dungeons play is different. But you see there, the Cyclone picks me, and I just stand there because I have good CDs. Allows the damage to focus up a little bit more and not worry about it at all. We beat that time pretty easily, and we really had a lot of tribulations in it, and it was because we worked together. We followed the tips. Now here, this is a clear-cut example of where taking your time, stopping and waiting for CDs to come back up is actually a much faster approach. In fact, it's an insanely good and optimal approach on this pull, and I'm going to show you why. So this is the first pull of the dungeon. It's 2 pulls. We grip them together. I instruct the group to use absolutely no CDs that will not be back up by the time we pull this next group. Well, right now we're waiting for Gorfine's Grasp and Armor Pot, pre-pot specifically for all damage dealers. I tell them exactly when to pre-pot. We all do it at the same time, and now we all wait at the same time. So yeah, we're sitting here for almost 20 seconds, which seems like a bad thing, but while we're waiting, the pat is extending into the location it's at, so it's a nice easy pull. All CDs are resetting, and as you see, look at how much damage I'm doing, guys. And this is if I didn't wait for pre-pot, if I didn't have all my CDs up, right, Dancing Rune Weapon and all these things, I would never do that kind of damage, right? And even with that damage, we still make a few mistakes. The mobs put this healing circle underneath them, And I was hoping we'd just stun them, prevent that, but that didn't work. They're still healing, and now we have to kind of clean up. So even with the damage I was able to put out as a tank, which is also something we talked about in the first point ever on that video, you have to be able to up time. You have to be able to maximize your damage as a tank and a healer now. It's just mandatory. Not yet, obviously, in WoD, but it will be in Legion. So there's a great example of that. Now here's another. This is a great example of kind of cheesing, exploiting, all right? And you have to know these things because this adds or saves a lot of time. So what we're doing is we're gathering these 3 Ogryns, okay? Very specific sequence, so I'll go through it. Grabbing these 3 Ogryns, we're going to use this first Iron Star to kill them. Everyone knows that, right? You guys have done this before. You've seen it done. Now, I die there. That's actually on purpose, okay? Let myself die. In fact, you'll see the other players running up there to die as well. This is, once again, to reset Lust, all right? Does not help us skip any mobs, but resetting Lust makes the second boss in this this gym, right? This battle arena area. It's going to be much, much easier with Lust up, okay? And then the second star here I'm going to use to go down the right side. That's very meticulously placed as well because we need to clear out those mobs for something specific. You see the marker there. So now we're gonna do something very crazy here, which I think a lot of people have never seen it. And just look how much time we're taking, right? Taking time, we mount up, etc., eat food, all this, and this seems fast. This is a challenge mode to you guys. Well, watch this. All that preparation is gonna lead up to this. So I'm gonna run down here. Okay, I'm now going to get off my mount and use Army of the Dead, which will aggro anything we run by. And I'm going to stay on my mount and I'm going to run by all these mobs, okay? You guys have probably seen this done, but if you didn't know, you could do this with Army and you'll never actually take a single melee. I used to do this without Army and it would be a little dicey. You'd have to worry about the barrage coming at the ship, or the area coming from the ship perhaps. But yeah, with Army, you see the Army, some of them have died already, but those ones still around me are taking the hits. Now I'm going to take them all the way back, but that's not enough. Now we need to coordinate within the group, right? Another point we discussed, have intense coordination. I need to tell these guys, all right guys, listen, I'm going to slow these guys. I need help slowing them. Once they're past the moon, that's when it's safe to shoot it. All right, I'm going to tell you exactly when, guys, and if the people did not listen to me, if we were not in vent, if they were not paying attention, we would wipe here, all right? And it would be a very, very big waste of our time and very frustrating. So I tell them right now, go ahead and shoot it, and look at that. We just cleared out. Look at the mob count. GG, you know what I'm saying? A couple bugged out. This is pretty common in this area, but the point was that there was communication present, there was weird, specific skipping, and of course exploiting, which I think that is a clear, if you ask me, a clear exploit. Being able to use Army like that does not seem intentional, but those are some really good tips, and I think you guys will agree. Now here is a really, really good example of using your utility as well as knowing how to AoE, all right? Looking all these mobs together, guys, gripping them together like this is a freaking death sentence. I mean, this is a really tough pull. I feel like this is one of the toughest pulls in any challenge mode that I do. Like, there's some tough ones that you can make a little bit harder for yourself, but this one is kind of mandatory, and you're just popping everything. You see the damage I'm doing. It's really insane, but of course the other damage dealers aren't doing bad either, and that's also part of having ults. These guys are all playing a very, very good class regime. We have, of course, Hunter, BM Hunter, Windwalker Monk, and Enhancement Shaman, 3 of the best classes for challenge modes right now. And it wouldn't be possible if we brought, bad specs like an Assassination Rogue or or like an Arcane Mage or, something like that. We would not be able to do what we just did there. Now, I'm going to show you this. This is the #1 thing. I think this is the most crazy thing you can do in a challenge mode. And it's a real clear-cut example of how, you need to know your class. You need to know these things. You need to be able to do these things. Otherwise, this is dungeons, right? You can't do shit like this in raids, okay? So what we're doing here is we're going to stand up here. And in order to do, the reason we're standing up here is because he's going to pick the quadrant we're all at and fill it with fire, right? Meanwhile, we're going to kill these ads. These ads on the encounter drop these like mechanics that you can use to make the fight a little bit easier. Player dies there. I just kind of quickly battle res them there. No big deal. Now you see the fires down, right? We kill the ads. We use one of the mechanics. Somebody gets it in the cannon. Okay, and then as you see on the top right, grounding totem is down, and we shoot the cannon, right? The part of the boss fight with one of the mechanics from the boss fight with Grounding Totem present. All right, so take a moment to rewind that if you have to, but basically you put Grounding Totem down, 9 stacks of the fire damage increase taken on the boss's cannon, shoot it with the mechanic from the ads, and the boss is over. All right, and then if we actually were good at the video game, we would use the further mechanics to kill the boss very quickly. You can use the shrapnel. We're going to use it like right at the end there, but yeah, that's everything, man. So these are good. I think these are clear-cut examples of what challenge modes look like, guys. So if you have any questions, about dungeons in Legion and stuff, you're going to have to learn this stuff. You really are. I think it's kind of paramount. I think it's important, but these are just a follow-up really to the previous video. I hope these examples help you guys out. But anyway, thanks for watching, man. That's the end of WoD. I'm really going to miss this concept, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun going into Legion, so I hope you guys do as well.